How do you master photography basics so that you can start to expand your skill set and create more compelling images without relying on any sort of automatic camera settings? My name is Cameron. I'm a full-time pro photographer based in LA. I shoot 2 to 3 clients a day in my LA studio, and I've launched this channel to share my love of photography and technology with you. If you find this video helpful, please do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe. Today, we're gonna dig deep into the core of photography, all within just a few minutes, and this video is literally like 80% of the base knowledge you absolutely have to know in order to get started with your camera. My goal here is to plant the seed you need to expand on this information through tons of practice in different lighting conditions and setups. So you just got a new camera and you're interested in learning photography, but you have no idea how to navigate the maze of settings you're seeing. I'm not gonna lie, this isn't something you're gonna grasp instantly, but save this video and let it be a starting point to understand how things work. There are truly endless possibilities in the world of photography. And I really believe that all you need to do is unlock a little bit of know-how to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. Okay, photography is all about light and how you control it. And the key principle I'm going to cover here is called the exposure triangle. Visualize a triangle for a moment. It has 3 sides, all of which point in a different direction, but collectively, they make up a single triangle. Awkward transition this to photography and imagine 3 components that all do different things, but collectively they make up a single exposure setting inside of your camera. These 3 things are shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. And they are like the foundational building blocks of how much light gets into your camera when you take a shot. Each one does something different, but they all work together to make your photos look just right. So let's break them down one by one and understand shutter speed first. Think of this as how long your camera's eye blinks. The shutter speed is quite literally the door that opens and closes in front of your camera's sensor. It's measured in fractions of a second, like 1/50th, 1/200th, or 1/500th of a second. The faster the shutter speed is, the less light gets through to your camera's sensor. Are you with me? Faster speeds capture a moment frozen in time, like, say, a fast-moving car or an eagle grazing the water. There's no blurriness here. Everything is sharply frozen. Whereas slower shutter speeds let in more light and capture movement, like a river flowing or pedestrians crossing the street. In the same way, it'll capture movement from a shaky hand too, so you want to be a little bit mindful here. The next side of the exposure triangle is aperture. This is a mechanical element inside of your camera's lens that functions like the human eye. When you go outside and it's really bright, your pupil shrinks. When you're in a dark room, your pupil expands. A bigger eye lets in more light, while a smaller one lets in less. In photography, we measure this with numbers called f-stops. f1.8, f4, f8, f11, it keeps going. Smaller f-stop numbers mean a bigger eye, like f1.8 or f2.8. Bigger f-stop numbers mean a smaller eye, like f16 or f22. This changes how much of your photo is in focus. For instance, if you're photographing something close up and you want the background to fall soft and kind of get that dreamy background blur, then you'd want to open up your aperture to f1.8 or 2.8 to create that. If, however, you want everything in your shot to be nice and sharp in focus, then you would close down your aperture to, say, f11 or f16. Lastly, there's ISO. This is quite literally the brightness knob on your camera. It's simply how sensitive your camera is to the light you're giving it between your shutter speed and aperture settings. When it feels dark, you turn it up to brighten things, but turning it up too much can make things look noisy, sort of like the static on an old TV. So it's about finding the right balance. Now, there is a way to remove some of this noise later in post, especially with more advanced AI noise removal out there, but I always like to say, just get it right in camera and you'll work a lot less in post. Cameras today also do a pretty great job of keeping noise levels lower, even with high ISO settings in place. When I started in photography, I really couldn't go too far at all with this, or else my shot largely became unusable. Okay, now how do we put this into practice? Imagine you're about to take a picture. First, think about whether you want to freeze a moment or capture some motion. That helps you pick the right shutter speed. Anything above 1/250th will help freeze, and anything under, say, 1/30th of a second will help you begin to intentionally create motion blur. Then you're going to decide how much of your photo you want to be sharply in focus. That's where your aperture comes in. Isolate your subject from the background with a wider aperture like f2.8 to throw that background soft. Or if you're shooting a landscape or a group of people and you want everything to be sharp, that's where you're going to crank the number higher to like f11 or f16. Finally, adjust the ISO to get the right brightness without pushing it too far. Generally, I like to favor ISOs 100 or 200 if I'm outside in daylight, and I like to favor ISO 400 up to 3200 if I'm indoors or shooting at night with less available light. If you push it further and start to notice too much noise, maybe just go back and revisit your shutter and your aperture and then revise things from there. All right, there you have it, your basic exposure settings and the order in which I recommend going when setting up a shot. Once you get the hang of these, you'll start writing your own stories with your camera. And remember, this is just the beginning, but it is the base knowledge you need to tackle photography at anything higher than automatic. If you found this helpful or saved it for future use, please do me a favor again and hit the like and subscribe button. There's so much more to explore, and I'm excited to have you on the journey with me. Until next time, peace, guys.